I'm from Blackpool, which is in the northwest of England, and it's on the coast, so we've got quite a famous beach, and there's lots of attractions like the Pleasure Beach, which is a theme park, so it's quite known for tourism.
So I was born in Guildford, which is a town 40 kilometres outside of London.
Hi, my name's Kat and I'm from Scotland. I'm actually from the south of Scotland, so right on the border. In fact, you can see England from my bedroom window, which really upsets my dad, because he's a proud Scottish man. So my favourite book is probably Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. It's definitely the book I've read the most, probably, I don't know. I try and read it every year. Especially around about autumn. For me, it's a very autumnal book. A book that I read recently is, I've just finished an audiobook. I don't really have a lot of time to read physical books now, but I do a lot of listening to Audible. And I've recently listened to a book called The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and it's a really interesting book that it's about a girl who she doesn't want to live anymore, and so she goes to this library where she sees all her parallel lives and other possibilities of lives that she never accomplished. And it's a thought-provoking book. It really makes you think about how we regret things and how our lives could have gone in a different direction.
I like reading, and my favourite book is probably a book that we read when I was at school called The Lord of the Flies. It's a book that I've never forgotten. I always remember it, and yeah, it's probably my favourite book. I said I was a big Tottenham fan, and the book that I'm reading at a moment is a book about the history of Tottenham called The Glory Game.
So my favourite book is probably The Great Gatsby, classic, and I love it because it's a fantastic story, and also it's got so much descriptive language in it, and I've probably read it about 5 times. So a book that I've read recently was by Tiziano Terzani, and it's called Fortune Teller Told Me, and it's the story of him travelling around Asia speaking to different fortune tellers to find out what's going to happen to him and whether he'll be involved in an aeroplane crash. And I would definitely recommend this book, either reading it in English if you can, or in the original in Italian, because you learn loads about different countries, and it's also a really interesting story. My favourite film is an old film, which is Singing in the Rain, and it's very famous for the one scene of Gene Kelly dancing in the rain in the street. But the whole film is fantastic. It's funny, it's emotional, it's got great music, and it's really colourful as well.
Okay, I love watching films. It's difficult for me to choose a favourite, but my favourite film is probably The Shawshank Redemption. But I also love films like The Godfather. When I was young, I loved the Star Wars films. So it's very difficult for me to choose a favourite.
My favourite film of all time is a movie called Stardust that came out probably 15 years ago. It's not a new film. and it has everything. It has magic and pirates and a little bit of mystery about it, and it's just fantastic. It's a really easy watch. It's fine for a family film as well, so it's easy to watch with kids. And yeah, I love it. I love this movie so much. I watch it very regularly, especially when I'm looking for like a cozy night in. I don't really have a lot of time to watch full movies at the moment, so I've been binge watching lots of different series instead. The series that I'm watching at the moment is a really interesting series called Only Murders in the Building. It's on Disney Plus, and it's got Selena Gomez in it, which she's fantastic. It's like a murder mystery set in New York, and it's pretty cool, and I'm only 3 episodes in, but I'm really enjoying it so far.
I've never heard of it.
It's great. So my first tip for learning English is something that really helped me when I was studying Italian, and that was to write down the vocabulary that was most important to me. So not random words that I would never use, but the vocabulary that I found myself looking for every single day. I would write it on a post-it or a piece of paper, and I would put it on my bathroom mirror, because I don't know about you, but I spend a lot of time in the bathroom, whether it's brushing my hair or brushing my teeth or putting on makeup. It's the one place that you're standing maybe for a couple of minutes at least every day or twice a day. Okay, my second tip is not something that I personally have done, but it's worked really well for my partner. He would play a lot of online games, video games and computer games, and communicate with people all over the world, and pretty much always in English. And in fact, he credits that as the way that he learned English, and he's got a fantastic level without my help. My final tip is something that's often recommended by other teachers, and that is to change the language of the phone into English. And that means that every time you check the phone, which if you're like me, is multiple times a day, and it means then that you're getting a little boost of English every time you open up Instagram or you're opening up your messages, and it really does add up.
I think my number one tip for learning English is don't be afraid to make mistakes, especially when speaking. Mistakes are the best way to learn, so yeah, that's my number one tip. Don't be afraid or embarrassed to make a mistake. A good way to improve your English is to study things in English which you have an interest in, so it could be sports or music or travelling or gardening, anything that you enjoy. Try to find material about that topic in English, so it could be reading websites or listening to podcasts or watching films or documentaries. It's definitely an easier way to learn the language if you study something that you already have an interest in.
As everyone knows, a great way to learn a language is learning songs, and I would definitely recommend learning songs that you like in English and looking at the lyrics online if you need to, because I can still remember songs that I learned 20 years ago in German, so it definitely works. At the moment, I'm listening to a podcast called Descendants, which is on BBC Sounds, and it's about different people in Britain and also America and Caribbean, and how their ancestors were related to slavery. So it's very interesting because they learn like a lot of history and about how Britain was involved in the slave trade. So it's quite shocking as well at some parts, but I would definitely recommend it to anyone who's interested